Hey guys, before this episode starts, I do just want to state that this episode was recorded over a FaceTime call via Instagram, so we do apologize if the audio is a little tacky or if you can hear anything in the background. As you'll hear throughout the story, this episode is about a female who refers to go by Bella or B, and she tells her story about going back and forth between group homes and shelters and explaining her whole life story between her parents and her step-parents. She also explains how her home life is, what she would like different, etc. Continue watching this episode to find more about her story and how she grew from it. We apologize for the background noise. There's nothing we could really do to try to kind of limit that. I tried my best to edit out a lot of the background noise, but some of it is still inevitable due to it coming from her side of her screen and her audio. But yeah, let's just hop into this podcast, and I hope you guys enjoy this episode.
Alright, so, growing up, I lived with my mom because my dad, divorced her, but they took me away from her when I was young, so I'm going to say, 4, maybe 5 or 6 years old, and during that time period, I was there for around 2 years, moving from home to home, until my dad eventually took me in when I was around 7, and, everything was great, everything was nice, but then he also had a girlfriend, which was my stepmom, and my stepmom would try to, sabotage a lot of things, I guess, because she got nervous of, how much the state and stuff would come all the time. Me having, my BPD, my ADHD, I was different, I was a different kid, and she didn't know how to deal with me, so I would get blamed for, a lot of things. When things around the house would go, lost, when things around the house would go broken or missing, I would be the finger to point. I would be the kid to blame. And when I would, first-handedly, confess, I didn't do it, they would, gaslight me. They would be no, you did. You did. And then they would punish me. When we went over to families, family gatherings, my family would, comfort me about it, not wanting to know my story, just blaming me. My dad would also do really, I'm gonna say really harsh punishments for when those things happen. When I got blamed, me sleep on the floor. Sometimes, there's a lot of sexism and or misogyny in the Hispanic community. So he would make me cook and clean at a young age, do things that I shouldn't have to be worrying about. And when I got it made me fall into depression. Eventually, eventually led to, I'm going to say suicide, but that led to me having hospitalizations at the age of 8, but with each hospitalization, I realized I didn't want to go home, I didn't like him, I didn't like her, because of the way she would yell at me, the way she would hit me, or just the way she was. She was very aggressive, and she had a completely different side when he would come around, and he would always believe her and sabotage. And eventually after that, when I told the hospital that I didn't want to live with him anymore, and then they eventually sent me to what they call a PCH, which is a psychiatric community home. They eventually expected me to go back home, but I didn't. So out of that first one, the levels kept going down. After that one, it was a treatment home where it was just like myself. And then after that, I had a crisis, and I went back to the hospital. And then after that, I went back to a lower level. My dad it was a lot of emotional abuse, physical. My dad's I have a strong feeling my dad's narcissistic in a way.
How is he narcissistic?
The gaslighting, the triggering, he knows how to say he doesn't want to admit when he's wrong, he doesn't like to apologize. Birthdays come around, he forgets. It's he feels he never does anything wrong. He feels he's the perfect dad. He doesn't make any mistakes. And that everyone, including me, was a problem.
Do you have any siblings who also went through this, or are you an only child?
So I had a brother. He just turned 18, but he was also went with me through this. But he was the golden child. So it's they wouldn't blame him for any of that. he had it easier, but at the same time, he also had it harder because I'm a female. My dad knew better.
Do you think that in the Hispanic community, because, you know, I'm Hispanic myself, I understand that it's very harder for women than it is for men. Do you think that's why your dad really acted the way he acted? The toxic masculinity of a father having to come home from work and just relax while the woman cooks and cleans?
Yeah, that's really how it was. And he's never had, like, a daughter before. So, like, he would try to talk to me. And, like, because, you know, he thinks because, like, he's the head of the household, like, everything. He has, like, the final say. Like, you cannot tell him otherwise. You cannot disagree with him. Like, you can, if he's stubborn. Like, if he says no, like, it's no. And if he has a fixed opinion and you try to, like argue against it, it upsets him. And then besides that, my mom was also had some, like, you know, like, mental issues, and she got deported when I was around 10. So I never got to saw her after the system because I was in the, like, foster care. He would tell me, like, bad things about her. They would, like, talk bad things about each other in my ear. So it made me not want to live with her. And eventually that's why my dad took me in. But I felt like that was a really bad decision.
Is your mom in your life?
Honestly, no. Like, after the reason of, like, the foster care, like, she just not contact me after I said I didn't want to live with her. And she started visiting me and giving me gifts. And after that, people were saying, like, she became homeless and she became deported because she didn't have papers.
How old were you when she got deported? And did that, like, take a toll on you?
It kind of did. Because when it came, like, around for my birthdays, around for my Christmas, like, if there's any other person outside of my dad's side, she wasn't there. I was, like, around 10, but then again, my dad's also telling me this, so it's hard, like, I don't know who to believe because she's not here to confirm whether it's true or not.
Would you try contacting your mom if you had the ability to?
Oh, yeah, for sure, but my dad's telling me that she's, like, in a mental, like, institution in Ecuador.
Do you mind me asking, how old are you?
17.
So next year you're going to be legal and able to live on your own and everything. You aren't going to be...
Yeah, I'm a senior, so I told them.
Uh-huh.
I'm a senior, so I told them they're, like, after I graduate high school, I'm going straight to college and I'm going to live in a dorm. Like, I don't want to be a part of these, like, places anymore.
Okay. So you've been in the system since you were 8?
No. So my dad's my biological dad. My mom is my biological mom. And after my dad took me in, since I was 12, like, I remember how I told you it was in, like, the hospitalizations.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say around the age of 13 is when I went to my first group home. So it's been about 5 years.
Did you meet anybody in, like, your homes that would help you, or would they kind of make it worse?
Well, believe me, they tried, like, family therapy. That never worked. I met, like, staff that would help me go through it, but if anything, I had to learn on my own because at the end of the day, I don't need him. And he's not even there for me anyways. He's always threatening me to take me back and all that. It's toxic.
When you go to your dorms and you move out and you're going to college, do you even want your dad in your life, or are you just, like, you don't want him around you?
I don't want him around me.
Do you want to cut off all ties with him, have him away from you?
And he's always been... Yeah, because he's always, like, said to me, like, you know, like, oh, like, when you turn 18, like, I don't want you to live with me. I don't want you to contact me again. Yeah.
So y'all both are on the same thing where you both don't want to see each other.
I mean, yeah, and it's hard because he's, like, an adult, but he's acting like a man-child. Like, very stubborn. And, I mean, sometimes I do feel like confronting him about all this stuff he did to me. I mean, like, there's more. But, yeah, it's just, like, the physical, emotional thing. Even psychological, like, saying things he know will hurt me or bring me down, like, lower my self-esteem. Like, telling me, like, I'm never going to be successful. Telling me that, yeah, things like that.
How was your childhood with your dad? Do you mind explaining a little bit more about, like, his abuse and stuff?
It was really bad. Christmases were hard. Like, I didn't get anything. He would forget my birthday all the time. I'll get punished so much where I started to genuinely feel like I was like a bad kid and like I didn't deserve to have. I didn't deserve toys or, you know, like all those things that the girls my age had. And yeah, I was always like depressed. I was always angry and mad because I didn't feel like, in a way, like I didn't feel like I was loved.
Do you think that that's the reason why you don't want to see him, is because he made you feel worthless?
Yeah. And like, it gets me upset because it's like he comes at me for having like my mental illness, but it's like I didn't have to be here.
Was any of the group homes like intolerable? Like, what was your worst group home, would you say?
My worst one was like my third one, which was the highest level, because it was so restrictive and the staff there were like really mean.
Okay. Do you think you would ever get in contact with somebody who could help you, you know, seek justice for what happened to you at group home? Just with like the staff being rude to you and stuff like that, do you ever think you want to like stand up to them in the future, maybe legally?
The worst group home was one in South Jersey. It was called Cheryl's House, and the staff there were like mean. Like, one of the staff restrained my friend so bad that he left her with a black eye, like, and her eye was swollen for weeks. And when the state came and asked us, like, it was all denied. He would yell, and like no one did anything about it. That was the one I hated the most. I do feel like, you know, I feel like that's something that has to have legal action. Because I do like recall specific events. And I get it, like, it was intense, but like the type of way that they would treat us, it wasn't like, I'm pretty sure it wasn't following the regulations.
Can you explain more about what happened?
Okay, so I'm trying to remember because this was like 3 years ago. So in that group home, we didn't have like phones or anything. We couldn't even have computers. Like, we could only watch TV. They would restrict us on that. Like, it would only be like 2 hours. Like, and we would just sit around, like, not do anything because they wouldn't take us out. We couldn't even have computers to play games, nothing. And the groups, we only had groups. The walls, everything in there was so bare and so, like, depressing. And the staff, they were always on their phones. Like, they wouldn't, like, talk to us or nothing. It's like they didn't care. But that's the one I hated the most. And I was glad I got out. And they sent me away from, like, my family or whatever, because they know they sent me far.
Is your brother in your life?
Not really.
Do you mind me asking why?
Okay. Yeah, I know. It's my brother, he's not in my life, but he tries to be. Did you ever think? Yeah, I did run. From that program, I did run. The staff, they were getting upset, and I got overwhelmed by it. And one of the staff held the door open, and I was like, I'm going to run. Like, I'm going to freaking run. And then he said, go ahead, go. So then I ran. Me and my friend, the one that got restrained, we both ran. And we were walking on the highway in the rain for hours. But we didn't have food or anything. We were cold, so we turned ourselves in. We ran around like 5, and by the time it was like 9 o'clock, they found us because we turned ourselves in, and they called. You know, we had to get hospitalized to make sure we were okay, and then they sent us back. So when they asked why I ran, I told them, like, I just didn't want to be there. And eventually I said what I had to be said, like, I was depressed over there, I didn't like it there. And the hospital didn't help either. They were just like, you know, like, we're going to have to send you back, right? Like, you know, you can't stay here. So they were like kind of satisfied with the fact that I wasn't gonna leave. But I ran because it's like I got overwhelmed and I was like, F it, like I'm gonna leave this place, and they just said go ahead, so that was like a sign to go.
Have you run away from any more of them?
No, that was the first time. I normally try to be on good behavior so I could have privileges or like go out and stuff. Even leave sooner.
What privileges do they give you?
So every level's different. Like that one, we didn't get like much. If any, if they were feeling like, I guess, nice, then maybe like once a week or once every couple months is what it would be. They would take us to go get something to eat.
That's it?
But I'm telling you, like the staff there would not care. Yeah, like that's it. Like the staff there would not care. They would be on their phones all the time.
And what are your privileges that you have currently in the group home you're in right now?
How is the food okay, so in that one, in the Cheryl house, everything was frozen. Like they gave us like those packaged foods, and we had like freezers, so they will give us frozen foods, make like those like packaged like lasagnas. I would eat a lot because the food was like, you know, unhealthy. Like all that frozen packaged food is not good. I rather prefer like home cooked, if anything. I gained a lot of weight in that place.
What are your privileges in this group home?
Okay, so in this group home, I can have my phone, but I'm not able to use it right now because I have to pay for service. They don't let me use the Wi-Fi here. But I get to go out in the community for about 2 hours. I could go out with my friends. And that's something a lot of the homes didn't do before. Like, they wouldn't let you go have time by yourself. You always have to go out with the staff. But here, at least I have a little bit more freedom. I even get money. I can have a job. I'm going to get one soon. I'm in the process of getting an interview, which I'm going to get hired because my friend referred me to her job and Taylor. They should pay good, I think. I can walk home and from school. A lot of times it would pick me up. Yeah, to me that's a lot. I never had a phone as a kid. It was always like tablets or something.
Was there anything that happened in group homes that kind of like scared you?
In my first group home, the psychiatric community home, there was a girl that would always run away. Like, even when it was snowing or raining, like the type of outbursts kids would have, it would be so unexpected that it would startle me. Like, you know, like they have to call the police and all that. And I'd be like, is everything okay? That's starting because you live with other girls and you never know, like, what they could be going through. So it's like, it's unpredictable. I keep to myself for that reason. And if anything, I like to talk about it. I don't like to let it build up like that. And I try to think before, like, I do stuff.
In the foster home you're in now, what would you like different about it?
It's not a foster home. I mean, I wouldn't consider it a foster home. It's more like a state home. It's a trauma home. So in this home, they actually helped me work through my childhood trauma from my dad.
Mm. Is it helpful?
Yeah. It is at times. I like how nurturing they are. You know, a lot of homes is not like that. It's just like they watch us. That's it. Like, literally in all of them, like the last one I was in that one, like they would just watch us and, you know, clock in, clock out type of thing. But this one is different because it's like younger people. Like, it's like people who graduated from college who are closer to our age where they can understand us. So it's different.
Is there anyone you met in the group home that helps you?
I've made friends, like, in school. I still keep in contact with some from Jersey City, but otherwise than that, I made some in my first group home. I made some friends who, you know, we still mutuals on Instagram, but we don't talk like we used to. I made like some friends. Right now I have a friend in my high school and she's really nice. Like we're really close. But then you have to realize like as you move like through these homes so much, like you have to learn how to like not get attached and how to let people go because you're not going to be able to see them ever again.
Is there any staff that you're close with? Or any staff from previous homes that helped you out still or check on you or no?
Yeah, I've had a program. The one in Jersey City, there was one staff, and me and her were really close. Like, she would give me advice. She would give me talks. She would do things for me. Like, she went out of her way to, like, care for me or, like, show for me. We still keep in contact. Like, I ask her for advice if I ever feel, like, upset. She talks me through it. She gave me her, like, number or whatever. And they're not allowed to do that, but those.
Where are you located right now? Because you said that they moved you around from town to town a lot.
Now I'm in Monmouth, which is like central. That's the county, but it's Red Bank.
Can you say that again? I'm sorry, you broke out.
So that's like Red Bank.
Is traveling an issue with you? Do you get to bring anything with you, or are they very strict about what you bring?
So as I moved through a lot of homes, like the last home, my clothes and stuff that I didn't even wear, I got rid of stuff because here they give us money for clothes every month. A lot of the homes didn't do that. It was either your caseworker or your dad or family had to pay for it. So I get rid of stuff as I move through the homes because I don't want to bring like a bulk load of stuff. And sometimes it'll be like no more than 2 weeks or only like a couple bags. But over time, like I outgrow stuff and I start to like other things, so I start to get rid of it.
I'm pretty sure someone in the group asked. I'm not 100% sure. Would you, in the future, do you want to like sue the group home?
The one that I didn't like.
Mhm.
I mean, I was thinking like right now I have like I'm at church, but I'm friends with lawyers. Maybe when I get older, like when I become an adult, I can make that a thing or like report them,
If you reported them, would you stay anonymous or would you put your name out there so that people understand that you went through this?
If I reported them, I'll probably say my name because when the state came, I told them to be anonymous, but nothing happened. Like the staff that like would do all those things to us, he stayed there. They didn't fire him after all those things, like physically aggressive, like yelling at, cursing at us, like those anger outbursts. He didn't get fired for that. And the staff there would like defend him and be like, there's nothing, like he didn't do anything wrong. And a lot of the staff members were men. They didn't do anything to us, but they were men, which was uncomfortable.
Were you ever worried because they were men? Like, did you have any bad thoughts or worried about what they may be doing to other people in the home?
Of course, yes. I mean, I did think that. I forget to mention that in Cheryl's house, staff were always quitting. Like, we never had staff. Staff were always overworking because people did not want to work there. So they would just hire, like, random, people, I guess. People who don't have any background or, like, actual passion for, like, working with kids.
You know what it probably was? A lot of the time in group homes, I know a couple people who've actually been in group homes too. A lot of times in group homes, when they get understaffed, they start to lower the quality of the people that work there. So usually what they'll do, they'll like, you know how when you first start a job, they ask you for a certain amount of requirements?
Uh-huh.
They'll start, like, when group homes start hiring and they're noticing that not a lot of people is quitting, they'll start reducing the requirements on the job thing. So
yeah, and it's like
very hard and difficult because a lot of the time they'll just sit here and hire unqualified people. And honestly, if it got to the point where you did want to do something legally because of your experience there, you can always mention that in your case.
That, because I remember, like, the art therapist quit, the clinician quit, and even, like, the clinical, not the clinical, like, the therapy, like, the actual therapist, they all wanted to quit. There were staff quitting, like, every couple weeks, like, leaving, saying they got other jobs. Yeah. A lot of people quit. Even the director of the program quit.
The director of the program quit?
Yes, I remember her because she was so nice. And then they eventually had another staff member who also worked there. They had her become like a temporary director. That's how bad it was.
Do you think if you was to get in contact with some of the workers that used to work there, do you think they would defend your opinion on the place?
I feel like if I would ask them by themselves and tell them like my side of the story, I feel like they should hear me out. But I don't feel like they have a reason to say that I'm wrong. Because at that time, that place was not like, it wasn't the proper place. I went there because I wanted to get out of this hospital. I hated being in the hospitals. Have you guys ever heard of Trinitas?
No, can you explain what that is?
It's like a medical hospital. It's like Elizabeth, New Jersey. But it is so bad. I didn't like that one either.
What happened there, if you don't mind?
But some of the staff there were rude. Like not understanding at all. Like they would pick people. Like they have favorites. So some kids they wouldn't have no issues with. But for me, since I was always like complaining, I needed that extra bit of help. I got treated like her. She needs something again. I remember I got restrained and I was in there from lunch to dinner. So that was about like 4 hours just chained in there. And they had like 10 people around me, which is unnecessary. And they injected me with the medicine in my ankles, like, and everything. And I didn't want to sleep with a girl as my roommate because she would always stare. Like, she would stare at me. Like, I was facing this way, and she would face this way. So, she'd always stare, like, straight, like, at my back. And I did not feel comfortable with her. So, they put me in, like, this quiet room where it's, like, it just had a bathroom, a bed, and that's it. Like, one time I was on my period, and I was in the quiet room. And they didn't want to give me, like, no blanket, no pad, like, I was cold. And even one time during dinner, one of the staff, like, did not want to let me out, and he told me to go back in, like, the quiet room. Which was just, like, a bare floor. Because there's 2 rooms in it. It's, like, one room, but there's one room behind it.
What was the quiet room for?
It was for restraining. Like, kids who were, like, they have, like, crises, and they put the medicine in them, and they put them down so they could calm down. Also, like, heavily medicate me to the point where, like, I was always tired. Like, I felt numb. Like, I felt like a zombie. That's the reason why I want to get off meds.
For your future, do you have any plans to try to help people who went through what you did?
I feel like, yeah, maybe I could be, like, a spokesperson. I mean, that would be good. Like, there's people who, like, that's not, like, their main career, but, like, in their free time, they like to talk about their experiences with other people, like, at schools, like, during meetings, businesses, and stuff.
So you would like to advocate for other homes that deserve more attention and the people in it as well?
Yeah, because I feel like the state sometimes has, like, the basic regulations, like, oh, you're being fed, like, oh, you got a bed, like, you're good. It's so much more to it than that.
Okay. Do you have anything else you would like to freely talk about? I know you said that your mom is currently, from what your dad told you, she's currently not in state. She's in Ecuador. Did that take an impact on you or no, because you weren't close with your mother?
Yes. It did. We were close. I mean, we weren't like crazy close, but if I could have like any favorite family member, it would be her, because I felt like she understood me. And if anything, she probably made some mistakes, but she was nice to me. And at the end of the day, that's my mom. Like, she gave birth to me and she brought me in here, so of course I had like a bond with her. But when I heard she was like in that institution, like, it gets me upset. Like, I feel to this day, I feel guilty for like not wanting to live with her. Like, maybe that's what drove her to that point. Maybe she felt like betrayal, like, you know, like anger because her own daughter didn't want to live with her. But it wasn't my fault.
Do you believe she has any reason why she wouldn't want to live with you? Was she struggling with something herself that you're aware of, or you're not sure?
I feel like it may have been like mental issues. At the end of the day, it's all like stuff my dad's saying. Also being like a single mom, or that could be it, not having papers.
Do you kind of have any worries in your group home now, or is it kind of better?
I'm just gonna close the door.
Yeah, go ahead.
I do have some worries. Over here, it's like an all-white area. And me being Hispanic, I always feel out of place. My friend was also Hispanic. She'll say to me, like, Kayla, like, be careful, you know, since you're like Hispanic, you might get picked on a little more than other people. Even in school, when I'm walking around, I'll get stared at. Like, I'll get judged, you know?
Mm.
So I already feel out of place. The girls, everything.
Have you brought it up to the staff about how you feel and how uncomfortable it is to be the only person of color?
I just talked to one of the staff. There's one staff here. She's African American. And I did talk to her about this. And I told her I was thinking about that.
And did she give you any comfort, or was she kind of like shoving it off?
She was asking me if there's anything they can do to make me more comfortable, but I don't really know, because everybody here like not understand like the privilege, you know, that they have.
Mm. I feel like if you wanted like the lady to help, I think you should bring it up to her whenever you're comfortable again, and explain that having more people, having it more inclusive. I understand that having a lot of white people, or being in, even if, let's say, you know, it was, the sides were reversed, you're in all Indian, you know, or all Hispanic or whatever. If you weren't Hispanic, it's all about inclusivity. You want to make sure everybody is filled welcome. If it's only 1 to 2 Hispanics out of 95% whites, it's very uncomfortable. I think you should bring it up to her and be like, can you get more inclusive people here? Have more person of color, have more Hispanics, and make it feel more comfortable. Because if you're only allowing the whites, that kind of does seem very, you know, attacking in a way, if it's kind of controversial as well.
Yeah. I mean, as far as like the picking, I feel like sometimes I feel like, you know, why do I feel this way? Like, I'm not that dark. I mean, maybe it's the lighting, but I do have like an olive skin complexion. But it's like, sometimes I feel like, Kayla, like, no, it's okay. Like, they're not doing that. Like, you don't have no reason to be. But then it could all just be based on like appearance, I guess. Because I do notice I do get talked more to than any of the other girls. There's, you know.
Do you have anything else you'd like to talk about your program, the house that you're in now, or the ones in the past, or anything about your father in general that you feel like sharing?
That no matter like my ending statement, like no matter how okay you think it is in your head, like abuse is never okay. If you feel like something's off, or if you feel like put down, if you don't feel happy like with your family, that's not a sign. Like, you know, there's people like what my dad did. He tried to make it seem like I was the bad kid, like I had issues, I was the problem. You're just a kid. Like, you don't have issues. Like, you deserve to have all the love and all the comfort in the world, rather than just being treated like a nuisance. And if anything, people like need to understand that everybody's like different. Like, no matter what the color, no matter what like the feature is, we all are human. Like, we all bleed the same. our poop is even the same. Like, we breathe the same air. We're all, like, equal. Like, the appearance is the same. And just because someone, like, talks different, like, they eat different foods, they dress different, does not make them any less than you.
I agree with that. I do want to say thank you for coming on the podcast, and we would definitely love to have you on here again, because I feel like you have way more that you would love to talk about.
Maybe I can be more specific next time.
It's okay. You know, you open up with whatever you're comfortable with. In the future, when you're ready to, you can definitely hop on. You know, we have our group meeting in a bit if you'd like to join it. And I just want you to make sure that you're aware we're here for you. And if you want to talk about anything, whether it's personal or on the podcast or anything, you know, we're here and we understand. And we're definitely going to look into that group home, not the group home, but the home that you were in, and figure out if we can help it or at least shut it down for now. We're definitely going to look into that and get the right people, because we also know some people who can really help out and maybe get more staff and more members. And if you have any more worries with homes at all, let us know and we can look into them and see what we can do.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.